Hello, this is Lennart from Friendly Vlog. Today I'm going to talk about part 1 of a 4-part series about plant grazing. In the first video we will cover why plant grazing is important. In the second video we will learn how we can take external factors into the planning process. In the third one we will learn how to evaluate pastures for the planning. And in the fourth we will actually look at how we can plan the moves. Enjoy! So what we will learn today, how planning the grazing allows us to be proactive, how it allows us to get more creative, and how it helps us in accomplishing our goals. Okay, first, why plan grazing? I can plan something ahead, but nature is so complex. Everything I plan will probably not work. Why should I plan for something that will inevitably fail? And also, I know my sheep, I know my terrain. Marguerite? Where am I? An interesting quote from Benjamin Franklin: if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Okay, let me give you 3 reasons why planning your grazing is so important. First, you will be proactive. Let me illustrate what I mean. Here you can see how we did plan around certain events. For example, we know that the sheep will be shared the 15th of March. So we mark that date in the calendar. I know when there are Airbnb guests coming. So guests that I'm going to walk around while herding. We did mark 2 days off where we have to visit someone, so we cannot be with the sheep. These are all things we did mark in advance in the calendar. These things we can then plan around. We know at the 15th of March, when there's sharing, the sheep need to be somewhere where it is easy to access for the sharer, where we can have maybe a shelter not too far in case of rain, because the sheep need to be dry before sharing. So we decided to put them in this paddock where all those criteria are met. So I did mark the Airbnb events where I guide people while herding, so I do not want to be in the most inaccessible areas. This means that I know in advance that I will have to preserve some grazing areas where it's easy to herd for the days when Airbnb is coming. Second, stimulating your creativity. During the planning process, you will discover new ways that you wouldn't have thought that would be possible if you would just plan in your head. For example, we did plan in advance our lambing. Let me show you. While planning our lambing in ahead, we had the goal of decreasing the hay we are giving. Our problem in our environment is that we cannot easily fence areas off, so we always have to herd. This becomes complicated when you are doing lambing. While lambing, it is not very good to herd because sheep, they will lamb somewhere in the woods where you don't see them. So we need to be at areas where it is easy for us to make parks where the sheep do not need to be herded. As we only have not a lot of areas where we can do that, we decided while planning to split up the herd. By splitting them up, one mob can stay longer in the area where there is grass, in the big paddock where there's grass, and the other mob can graze in the smaller areas. This process is something we only came up because we did start the process of planning and we were thinking about how can we decrease the hay we are giving to the sheep. The third reason is achieving your goals. So for example, So one of our objectives is to increase productivity. One way of doing that in our case is to increase the recovery time of the plants. Recovery for a plant is when it's actively growing. In our environment, the most active growth is in May. We need to give pastures that we grazed in winter time and in autumn time in spring to regrow, to recover. This is why we plan pastures that we graze now in winter and that we grazed in autumn. We will plan to not to graze them. For example, here this pasture we did graze in autumn and we will not at all graze it in spring, so it has enough time to grow. This pasture we will graze in a few days. You can see that we planned a few days of grazing, but in the middle of May. So it had ample time of recovery in April and half of May. So 45 days of active growth. This means we are helping our forage to develop a deeper root system so that it will be more resilient and more productive in the long term. Okay, so this is it for today. Me and this is Grancheuse. She's called Grancheuse, by the way. Me and Grancheuse, we are going to enjoy the evening. So keep tuned for the next videos and see you next time. Bye.